but it's also effective against Protoss because Colossus can deal so much damage to units in such a short time. And actually, I think I said before that I don't think MC is behind. I do think MC is at least a little bit behind. Certainly, his economy, if we go to the income tab, is certainly lower, especially in terms of gas, which both of these races are extremely gas heavy. You know, the Terrans can generally get away without gas because you just use most of your gas on upgrades and then build tons and tons of Marauders and Marines, and you can end up being pretty good. But Protoss really can't do that. It can do a heavily zealot army, you know, if you get charge and, you know, have pretty good upgrades, but you really want support units like these Colossus. Now, these Colossus are going to pose a problem, as I was saying before, are going to pose a problem because his opponent, of course, Naugrim, a nice little run-in by to try to get as much scouting information as he can. But as I was saying about Colossus are very difficult to deal with if you don't have corruptors to deal with them. Most corruptors are, of course, the counter, which deal extra damage to massive units. And we do see Ultralists on the way. Wow, 3 Ultralists, and I believe we're 2 upgraded now. 2-2, not to be confused with what ballerinas wear, 2-2s. And actually, great move by MC's part. He's checking for expansions now. However, he's going to see that his opponent already has 5 total bases. I believe he's only mining at 4. He's mining at 4 of his bases. He doesn't have gas up here, which actually he should get gas up. Well, no, his minerals are relatively low. I was going to say, generally speaking, he's going to make sure Naugrim's going to make sure that the Zealots are not able to catch them off guard. But we do see, generally speaking, Zerg players have a lot more minerals just because they're a very gas-intensive race. Just kind of in general, it's just kind of the way it is, which is one of the reasons why they take so many bases. And, well, okay, so let's talk about the game a little bit. And Zerg Carapace level 3. Alright, so we do see a Spire coming out. The Spire is definitely good corruptors for the Colossus. It's definitely the design that Naugrim is going for, and it's definitely something that's going to be very useful. But we do see that he's ahead by 30 on supply count. So he's ahead on supply count. He's way ahead on bases, and he's already taking the gold. He's ahead on upgrades. He's starting 3-3 right now, whereas the Protoss player is getting his 2nd level weapons upgrade. That means MC is 3 behind on upgrades right now, and he's going to be even farther behind. We do see Dark Templar coming out. Of course, permanently cloaked. He's going to try to deal as much harass and deal as much damage as possible. But look at this really formidable army. Now, Colossus are going to be really effective against these Zerglings. However, we see that the Infestors will be able to counter those pretty well because the neural parasites, as I was talking about earlier, and also the fungal growth on the Colossus will prevent them from being able to back up and prevent themselves from taking damage, and the Ultralists here will be able to prevent themselves from taking a lot of damage. Now, we do see that one of the Dark Templars has already been taken out. This one's going to be taken out very soon. And this one is still going around. It's got 8 kills so far. So I would say definitely this was very favorable, and we do see Spine Crawlers coming up and Spore Crawlers to detect the Dark Templar, the Spine Crawlers to kill them, going up in all the expansions just to make sure that he doesn't get bothered anymore by those. We do see that it was 8 workers killed by the Dark Templar. It was pretty effective. Probably at this point in the game, it actually probably just freed up supply for more units. And actually, if you look at Naugrim, he actually has a lot more gas than he has minerals, which is kind of interesting. It's very rare for a Zerg player to kind of be in that situation. But with all these drones transferring to the gold, that's going to catch up real quick, and Naugrim's just going to be taking a huge lead. I'm pretty sure that Naugrim is going to go ahead and he's going to upgrade all these Banelings. He's going to put a bunch of units in these, and then he's just going to move out and attack as soon as 3-3 is done, which is going to be another 40 seconds. So at 24:40 about is when he's going to attack. I don't think he's going to engage that much sooner, and he may go for some sort of sandwich in which he tries to spread his army and attack from multiple angles. That's very important for the Zerg player to do, and doesn't want to lose an Infestor like that. You got to be a little more careful. Well, of course, not a big deal at this point in the game. Look at how many resources he's floating right now. And MC is having trouble. He's just taking his 4th base now. And he's still mining from 2 bases, but not the most effective thing in the world. Meanwhile, we do see that the Stalkers are engaging Zerglings on their own. Not something you want the Stalkers to do. This Ultralisk is definitely dead. He's going down. Meanwhile, we do see Naugrim's army is going ahead and moving out here. I'm sure he's got lots of larva stockpiled so that he can... Oh, yep, and we do see he's going in. There's definitely going to be a lot of fungal growth and a lot of neural parasites. There's the first neural parasite, 2 neural parasites, and I don't see any fungal growth actually. A little bit better control needs to happen on Naugrim's part. He needs a fungal growth again, but look at those Banelings dropping with full melee upgrades doing a lot of damage there. being very effective against these units. He needs to go ahead and keep fungal growthing these. Make sure to take out the 2 Colossus that were weak, though. And it looks like his entire army was taken out. Actually, he kind of stopped macroing during that. That wasn't the best engagement. He definitely had the forces and the tools to be able to successfully take out his opponent. However, we see 7 Ultralisks on the way, 5 Broodlords on the way, in addition to his other forces. That is a huge, huge force. That's going to be extremely effective. And the Broodlords especially, right here. You park them right here. If your opponent doesn't have Void Rays, they can shoot the probe line all day long, and it doesn't really matter. And it's also important to remember that Broodlings do in fact benefit from your melee upgrades, which means that we have an Overseer warping right over the Dark Templar, taking the Watchtower. Which means that the 3/3 upgrades, so the little Broodlings that the Overseers shoot out over the gold, are just going to keep dealing more and more damage. And the Changeling is going to go ahead and sit there, but he's going to be taken out, split in half. Poor Changeling. Changelings must die more than any other unit. Well, I mean, proportional by any other unit in StarCraft. I guess that's true, especially because and that Infestor decided to waddle out into his own death. I guess he didn't want to survive that much longer. But as I was saying, the Broodlords can sit over here and shoot over the mineral patch. They're also really effective over armies, especially in terms of, there's going to be some feedbacks right there. Nice feedbacks taking out those Infestors. Meanwhile, we see fungal growth coming out, and his opponent actually, MC doesn't really have enough Blink Stalkers to be able to deal with this. Does he have Blink? Yeah, he does have Blink. But he doesn't have enough Blink Stalkers to be able to deal successfully with these Broodlords. That's why we just warped in 6 new ones. And actually, wow, we need a lot better control on the part of Naugrim. He's handled these engagements very poorly, and MC is starting to prove why he's a previous world champion. However, the macroeconomic ability of Naugrim has really proven itself in this game. He's really done a great job. And, you know, when Naugrim maxes out again, though, he should really move out for an engagement. He does not want MC to catch up economically, because when both races are maxed, anything can happen, because a 200-200 Protoss player's army is actually a lot better than a 200-200 Zerg army. The benefits that the Zerg have, though, is that once you lose the entire army, you can inject all of your hatcheries, which you should get a queen here, by the way. And actually, he's not injecting these. He does have 9. He's a decent amount of larvae at these bases. But as I was saying, the Zerg player can refill their army super quickly. And we do see 4 new Broodlings being made right there. So what happens is, typically speaking, if it's 200-200, the Zerg player will engage the Protoss player, and then they'll fight, and then the Protoss player will win with like a lot of losses, and then the Zerg player will remacker up again, you know, usually, I don't know, Roaches or Zerglings or whatever they're going in that game, and then just refill entirely and then engage again. Now in this case, we see MC is going to go ahead and blink up and try to deal as much damage as possible to the Zerg base here. He's going to kill a lot of drones probably. Killing drones really doesn't matter at this point of the game, however. He really wants to make sure these guys can get out. They'll probably be able to get out. Oh, nice job on the part of Naugrim. Fungal growthing and putting Ultralisks on the bottom of the ramp as well, dealing a lot of damage to these Stalkers. That was an army that MC did not want to throw away. But as I was saying, dealing damage to drones at this point of the game really doesn't matter. Look at how many minerals he has stockpiled. Naugrim has tons and tons of resources. If we look at the income tab, he has 81 workers. He doesn't need any more workers. He's fine to lose workers, and we do see that the Broodlords are going to go start harassing the mineral line now, because he just gets a bigger army the more workers that you kill, because the population gets freed up. He does want to slide these Broodlords a little bit farther down so they don't get taken out by the Blink Stalkers, which are now at 3 weapons upgrades, but are still lacking any armor upgrades. Meanwhile, we do see that Naugrim is going to go ahead and engage there. We got a nice fungal growth off. Oh, but nice feedbacks, taking out the energy from all of the Infestors and dealing a lot of damage there. Naugrim needs a little bit more careful. He needs a lot more Zerglings with these forces to be able to engage. He can't just engage with Ultralisks, because Ultralisks just lose to Immortals quite effectively. Now, so even that small chunk of MC's army was actually losing to the force there, and these Broodlords are all going to get taken out, or at least most of them taken out. Oh, I guess he's going to save 2 of them. Almost got the Nexus, not quite able to do that. Meanwhile, you see Naugrim coming back with his force again, though. It looks like he's having trouble finding a good time and a good position to engage. He might want to consider maybe trying to go for some Baneling Rain on some of the expansions possibly. It'll probably be pretty hard to get to this expansion, I suppose. So maybe what he's doing is fine in terms of harassment, but he really needs to find a way to be able to get a kind of army that could actually defeat MC. He can't just kind of be moving around and, you know, this is the perfect kind of engagement that he wants. He wants to engage small parts of MC's army, deal as much damage as possible, make sure that MC is not going to be able to recover. And going to go ahead and burrow those Zerglings. I don't know. Yep, he does have an observer. He's able to take him out. And where are the Broodlords? Broodlords should be moving out over here. Really, Naugrim, it looks like Naugrim's having a little bit of trouble multitasking. When he was fighting that big battle earlier, it looked like he wasn't able to actually macro during that battle. And it looks like, while he was harassing up there, he wasn't harassing down here. Which, I'm not saying, like, it's super easy to do that. It's very difficult, which is why StarCraft is such a difficult game. But it's something that, as a really good pro player, you need to be able to learn to do. And looks like that Dark Templar is going to be taken out. He's seen his last days. So it's just something that he needs to try to improve upon. He is keeping MC down on bases. He did just take out the gold again. MC realized against those Broodlords he wouldn't be able to hold on to the gold, so he went ahead and gave it up. Now we do see. Oh yeah, there we go. Perfect. That's exactly what he wants to be doing right now, is dropping these 16 Zerglings in here, just being a general nuisance, dealing as much damage as possible. Zerglings that are fully upgraded and have adrenal glands, which these ones do, are quite effective in dealing with certain kinds of units. Actually, he's going ahead and getting missile attacks right now, and the reason he's getting missile attacks is perfect. This kind of drop is exactly what he wants to do. The reason he's getting missile attacks is actually so he does actually want to attack with these Zerglings, though, I hope. At some point he'll kind of realize that might be a good idea, or he just wants to sit around and not really do anything. Meanwhile, we do see the engagement coming up. You do not want these Broodlords to be alone. You need forces under these Broodlords. No, 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 no! Alright. Be a little more careful with your Broodlords, Naugrim. Naugrim's been throwing away lots of armies, and he's still way ahead because his economy's just done so well. Fungal growth. He needs a fungal growth faster, too. He is just not handling these combats very well. When you're playing a player of MC's caliber, you really need to be handling these combats better. Now, look at this. If you look at this army, he's actually... Oh, nice job on them taking out this little guest right there. He's still way ahead. He's got 70 more supply than MC, and MC is way out of resources. He's been starved of resources the entire game. He's had trouble developing an economy, and Naugrim's done a really good job of just staying ahead of him. But he's having trouble finishing the job. And I've seen Protoss players crawl back from games where they've been this far behind. It's not easy by any means, but it's certainly possible, especially since over time. And I don't even know why he's not getting armor upgrades. I guess he's just too starved to get armor upgrades. But I think definitely Naugrim needs to start considering Nidus Worms. That's definitely a really good way to move your entire army around really effectively and dealing damage in lots of different places at once. Finally, he moves out to attack with the Zerglings. They're going to get stormed though, and they're all going to go away. If he did that a little bit faster, it would have been more effective. Meanwhile, he's got a Broodlord over here, just kind of taking out some pylons, being a little bit of a general nuisance. Over here, we have a bunch of Zerglings attacking Stalkers alone. That's exactly what he's trying to do. This is perfect. You want to be able to divine your opponent's army, deal damage to it in pockets, and actually MC is probably just going to get game soon. It doesn't look like he has really any army left to speak of, and he's way behind. So I do want to point out, when I'm criticizing, I'm being nitpicky on purpose, because when you're at this level of caliber, you really want to have like your perfect game. And so MC is going to go ahead and GG out of this game. Naugrim is an incredibly good player, and trust me, I could not beat MC if I was playing MC, and I could not just destroy him the way Naugrim did with 6,000 more resources than him. Well, if you count both, 10,000 more resources than him at the end of the game. I cannot do that. But if you're playing someone this good, you really have got to... you've really got to handle combats well. You can't make little mistakes about engagements, especially that first engagement right over here. It was just handled very poorly, and Naugrim was able to successfully just stay ahead on economy and be fine. But if he wasn't as lucky and his third had been found, he couldn't have made those kinds of mistakes and still won the game. As it was, though, it was a really terrific game. I can't believe that MC was able to be taken down by Naugrim. So we're going to go ahead and move on to Game 2. This is PGO Milncraft signing off.